Okay. 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 I just wanted to try a different time to see if other people could join. I know that we have lots of different time zones going on, and I got done editing a chapter while my child is still asleep. So here we are trying out this new time just to see if some others can join. So just wanted to jump on at a new time and talk to everybody. Let's all keep our fingers crossed that my child stays asleep. My husband's in the basement doing something with the subwoofer. It's making weird noises, but he's really jazzed about it, and it's Father's Day, so I'm just gonna let that be what it is. But yes, so there has been a request. I'm going to post a poll later. I'm feeling better. My voice usually lets me keep talking without coughing, that's always helpful. So I'm going to post a poll here later to see if anybody would like for one of these lives to be me reading a chapter or an outtake, whichever. We can chat, we can talk. I'm up for any suggestions. But just wanted to get on here and chat, see if anybody had any questions about Raised to Cura or any of the other future upcoming books and everything. And see what you guys wanted to chat about today, or if you wanted to chat, or if you were just like, go away. But yes, I was free, so I thought it might be fun to jump on here. Hello, Andrea, and see what everyone was doing. I know it's Father's Day, so I know some people might be busy and unable to join, but thought we could chat and they could watch later whenever they want to. But, guys, the outtake for tomorrow. That was a point of view to get into. I don't know if I can do point of views from this character. That's a hard headspace to get into. Like I had to go, play a happy playlist and think happy thoughts after that one. It was a hard mindset to get into. But does anybody have any questions about this new reality that we're in? I've seen a few things. Bexley is around. She was in the chapter where it was Haley's 5th birthday. So she is still involved in Haley's life. We're not seeing every aspect of Haley's life right now. We're kind of jumping around a little bit, getting key important events. Bexley is training her on her sky powers. So they're still close. They're just not, Bexley's older than them. So she's not in that core 4 group of friends, but she is still close with Haley and they are still around. So she's still there. In our original reality, the mates for the 2 brothers, I said that could change. Darren is with Shanna in our reality, and Harold is with Jessica in our reality. That's obviously not different here. I saw a few comments and was tempted to leave her Jessica as Harold's mate. But I wrote my outline has had Tabitha in it, and I just really love her. So didn't want to exclude her, and it's been a ride. Rebecca is at a basketball game. Well, whoever you're cheering for, I hope they win. But yeah, I'm trying to think of what else I have seen of some questions. The thing about Titus. The thing about Titus in the last chapter is Titus was going through a lot, like we saw with Eric that they were mentioning, that Logan mentioned. He stumbled on a group of fairies that was trying to find someone to trick her. And he heard them say that she was naive and innocent in a way, and that is true. He does know that's true. She is, because they haven't exactly told her everything of what's going on and what they're doing to keep her safe, but they didn't want to do that. And he's a dad. So, I mean, he said some things he shouldn't have because he was hurting and he was upset and he missed her, but he's still a dad. So all love for Titus. He's a great dad. Will we get into reality? Will we get into Cassandra being an ass in this reality? I mean, I think she kind of already is being one. That's my personal opinion. I saw some people wanted to explain. It's one of those things where in my head I knew it was happening. But so in the last chapter, when Tabitha was like toasting Eric's parents being in Montana, they had gone on vacation. They were on their way back. That's why Nathan and Cassandra are in the chapter later, because they were on their way back and Eric was down there torturing a fairy for hours. So when they got back, Eric's brothers grabbed their dad and was like, you need to go talk to him because he's on a whole other level of angry right now. And we've seen that Eric's already kicked Cassandra out, and we've seen this group of girls is different because Tabitha is she's the youngest daughter of a beta in Kentucky, and she's like kind of against the grain there. She belongs in Eric's pack in Tennessee where they're more progressive because she's ready for that. And she's kind of rebelled against like what the typical she-wolf should do. She's mischievous in her own little wolf way. But she's kind of, she's butted heads with Cassandra a lot because her own mother, like they're not really super close because she wants her mom to kind of, step up to her dad. Her mom loves her because she thinks it's great that she marches to the beat of her own drum and doesn't let anyone boss her around. But Tabitha wants her own mom to do that. So she's not really here for Cassandra to bully her and tell her who she should be. But there's a different dynamic there because if you don't have Tabitha with that group, Amber could kind of be molded into Cassandra's world, but you have Tabitha there and she's not letting that happen. And then you have Molly, who Tabitha's just kind of a linchpin for that group because she just doesn't take crap from anybody, and all of them are meant to be Lunas. So they kind of emulate that from her. So Cassandra doesn't have the dynamic she wants. Now in this reality, she's not going to blame Haley for that. She blames somebody else for that. But in this reality, she's already kind of being an ass, in my opinion. But yeah, she's already been kicked out. So Eric already kicked her out of the house because he's tired of her attitude. And we see he told Jackson that he told all his brothers, like, if your mates can't handle mom, I'll be the bad guy and I'll kick her out. And honestly, he gives Tabitha props for never asking Harold to make that happen because he said in her shoes he would have done it. Because their pack runs differently, but they are a core group of alphas and Lunas, and tension in their house is not a good thing for the pack or anybody. So, her causing tension between those who are running the pack it's not a good thing. So she's already out in her own house on her own. And I think that does do some good things for her. But in my opinion, she's kind of already being herself in this reality just because there was somebody there to push her before Haley got there and went away from things that she wanted. And she kind of came out the gate because she should have waited for the boys to leave the house because alphas are possessive about their mate. They don't want to hear anybody talk bad about their mate. And even before they meet them, they don't want to hear that. So she made a mistake talking where Eric could hear her about not wanting him to have a mate who's a fairy because in her mind, that's not the perfect Luna in her picture perfect family. So she made a mistake at the gate when he was 13 talking about it. And it's just kind of spiraled from there because they didn't live in those rose-colored glasses that our original reality did because they didn't know who Eric's mate was. They didn't know that their mom felt that way. So, yeah, she's kind of already being herself right now. So we have some exciting things happening next chapter. So I hope you guys really didn't think I was going to make till it was waiting until she was 18 that they were going to meet. They're going to meet in the next chapter. How they meet is interesting, but their meeting is coming, and lots of different things going on in this book. We have I've seen people asking how did Claudia get the charm, the fairy charm? That's obviously going to be answered in this book. We're not going to leave that. Yes, Allie, they're meeting in the next chapter. It's happening. But there are lots of reveals going on, and in the last book, in Lexi's book, we kind of set up that the ring was bigger than Hansen, Fabian, and Alpha Hammond. All those people that are involved, it's bigger than them. And we know this. That's why you see kind of like what's happening here. Like people are like, hey, how are rings happening? All these people died. Well, they hide in the shadows, and they said they are good at it, and they are. So that's still going on in this book. The Hakura are still fighting those rings everywhere and trying to snuff them out and being caught at every turn, trying to dig deeper and being unable to. Those people are good at hiding. And we're kind of seeing a little bit more about the prophecy and what Haley actually is. So Haley is actually light itself, which is very big to fairies. The light of a fairy is a very big deal. Haley is a very big deal to the fairies. And not all of them realize that because that book was hidden. Aiden in our reality has never read the book that this Aiden is going to read, that this Arian will read. And Arian will never read it in our original reality because, as we learned in the last chapter from that book, to go against Haley like he did, which we know wasn't his fault now, but to go against Haley like he did started to destroy his soul. And the only person who could have saved him was Emlyn. And Emlyn wasn't around because of David. So, and it's stated, Eric says that he doesn't think Emlyn would have saved Arian if he hurt Haley, because they're always, the light and the soul seeker are always very close. So we're learning more about that and what Haley actually is, and we're learning things that our characters don't know in our original reality. So I think this book is really fun. Love Tabitha. I think her and Haley will get up to some mischief. Oh, they do. Tabitha and Haley get along really well. They are cut from the same cloth. They like to have fun. And they both march to the beat of their own drum. And they're both the youngest siblings of their families. They have a lot in common. Hi, Christina. But yeah, Tabitha and Haley have a lot in common. So they have a lot of fun. And I've seen somebody ask if we're going to find out why Cassandra and Luna Stephanie, Alpha Max's Luna, don't get along. Yes, Luna Stephanie is still around, and she'll talk to Haley because she likes her. She saved her. So they're all going to talk at some point, and we will find out why she thinks Cassandra doesn't like her. She's not wrong, but we find out why she thinks that and is right. But, you know. Will we see the original reality Haley and Eric in this book as a ribbon thread or as a visitor? We might see a few of them. I can't ever read a book without bringing our original Haley and Eric into it. I love them too much. So I think it's kind of a given they're going to show up in any book that I write. The question is, will there be other realities that we see in this book? You guys have got a sneak peek on here of a outline that I've written. I have several other ribbon outlines. So there is a chapter where, or maybe more, there could be more chapters where I have to decide which ribbon thread to plug in. So, and because I think it's fun, because once this book's group is Twilight bound, she could go somewhere else or someone could come to her. So, or both could happen. I love the ribbon. It's too much fun, guys. I have too much fun with it. So, but yeah, I won't ever write a book that is complete without our original Haley and Eric, because they started it all for me. I love them. I love having them in books, and there are things that they need to know that are in this book that we haven't got to, but there's already stuff that they need to know. So they will be around. I don't know if that's a comment on this or if it's a comment on something else. Oh yeah, it is on this. Okay. Can't wait for my fan request with Finn and Emma being mates. Love, Dylan. Let me see where that's at on my list. Okay, so that is, let me think. Okay, so that's going to be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So that will be up next week. That outline. I got like a list. I got my checklist out here. I don't know why you can't see that when I turn my phone around, but there's a list and I mark it off with checks. All my checks are down here and then all my ideas are down here. So, but yes, I've got my list in order of fan. When you guys send a fan request to me, I put it on the list in the order of which I received it, and that's how I work through them. Was the tall Haley in book 2 during the David showdown this current book's ribbons Haley? No. The Haley from Emmeline's book, the tall Haley, is not quite 6 foot because she lived in Foray until she was 5. In that book, she tells them that 2 of her brothers made a deal with a fire fairy. They took a mission that somebody got sick for in their reality. And in other realities, that didn't happen. So somebody got sick in their reality, and 2 of her brothers took that mission so that they were trying to meet a fairy because they wanted to hear about Haley. And so they ended up crossing paths with a fire fairy that none of the other realities did. And when he heard who they were and why they wanted to meet or to know about Haley, he agreed to bring them to Foray, knowing what they would find and what they would do with that, because he wanted retribution for his king, because the fire fairies believe that Fabian killed him. They're right, but they believe that, and they believe that he's hunting their duke, and they're also right about that. Because none of them believed that their duke was dead, and he wasn't. Oscar's dad was not dead for quite some time. So the fire fairy brought those 2 brothers. So tall Haley has her own book. That's a whole different reality. This reality is the only one that was raised in Hakura the whole time that we have met so far. So tall Haley is a different Haley. So yeah. And when the fire fairy brought them in, it just so happened that Hexus was beating up Haley, and they killed him for it. And then they took her home after killing a few more people because, well, you know, they're Hakura. Will we meet the Duke of Foray? You mean Fenelton's brother? If you're asking if we're going to meet Fenelton's brother, Oscar's father, yes, we will meet him. Thinks it's so hard to keep straight sometimes. It is. There's a lot going on all the time. And I've mentioned a few reality strings. We've got Mini-Me, we've got Tall Haley, we've got the Haley that was a vampire pet, and then we've got, we know about the held hostage Haley because I posted that outtake here and that sneak peek. So lots going on at all times. But yes, Tall Haley is different, and she has her own outline and her own book. But yeah, in this book, we see how tall Haley was truly supposed to be. She was supposed to be 6'1". So yeah, tall Haley is not quite that tall. She's a little bit taller than Lexi in the 3rd book, but not by much. So yeah, she's her own person. That book's actually fun because how do I keep all the Haleys separate in my head? That's an interesting question. Well, 1, I have outlines of them and who they are. 2, to me, they're kind of different people. Like, they're all Haley, but they're like different versions of Haley. So that's kind of how my brain sees it. But Tall Haley's book is kind of fun because we see the Hakura bring in Lexi to try to be friends with her, because that Haley was never raped. She was abused. And so she's kind of in her shell. But she's actually with Lexi on the night that Jordan Scott comes over to talk to and confront James Scott. So that is actually fascinating to me, how Haley being in their lives at that time without them knowing what this reality's Lexi's parents knew, because our original reality Haley popped in and told them, hey, someone's going to try to kill you. In tall Haley's reality, they didn't know that. So to me, it's just fascinating, like all the different little changes that things can make. So, but yeah, in my mind, they're all like, I have their little notes. We have vampire pet Haley, we have original Haley, we have mini me Haley, and we have raised secure Haley, held hostage Haley. So that's kind of how I separate them in my mind. It's what their reality is going to be called. That's how I separate them. That probably makes more sense than my first answer. But yeah, I just kind of relate them with what's going on in their realities. So let's see what other Haleys we have out here, guys. You can keep asking questions. I'm going to look through my outlines and see what other. I guess that's another poll I could post, is what yeah, let me know if this would be something you'd be interested in, if you guys kind of like voting what the next reality we see would be. Because obviously I've said whose book we're going to next, but when I jump back to alternate realities, I might have you guys vote on which one you want to see next, because Raised Secure was one that I really wanted to write, because I love like the characters that came out with this book, like the mates and the groups, how they are with Haley. And I think it's really interesting just to see how different everybody is when Haley was raised with them. So, but yeah, I might have you guys vote on what comes next. So we'll have to see. Is that something you guys would be interested in? Somebody say yes, no, keep thinking of other things, or just do flip a coin. I could do that. I could flip a coin. Christina agrees, and so does Andrea. So that's what we're going to do, guys. I'll post a poll of like the 4 option. Allie agrees too. So I'll post, and Samantha, everybody agrees. I like it. So when we get a little closer to that time, I will post that. Like I said, it is not anything that is coming soon, because we do have EJ's book. I'm not quite sure on the length of that one based on the outline. Cassie's book is going to be shorter, because we've got a lot going on in EJ's book and a lot going in on Alexander's book. Allison agrees too. It's happening, guys. We're getting a poll and you guys are deciding. And then we have Alexander's book. And then there's another book that I teased in our last live that's going to have somebody we haven't seen. Sorry if you didn't see that live, but spoiler alert, close your ears if you don't want to hear this. But the partial siren is going to come into play. And I'm not sure if I'm going to write that book before I write another alternate reality. So that's kind of the decision I have to make. But some other reality books we have Held Hostage, which we know. There's Tall Haley, which we know. Alexander should be coming soon. It is. Alexander is coming soon. What goes on with Alexander, guys? I love him. He's got a lot going on. But okay, so we have Held Hostage Haley, we have Vampire Haley, we have Tall Haley, and Mini Me. We've met all of them. And then let's see. So we've got that one. Then that Held Hostage is the ribbon thread where Haley escapes and stumbles in. I think I said this in the thing. She stumbles into Eric's territory when she's at 15. And in that reality, Fairy Vampire War happened sooner because Fabian took over running things in Foray sooner and people just kind of went haywire. And then I've also got a reality where Eric is dating Claudia. And in the first book, Pierce Harden mentioned that he was on the list of people who was supposed to get Haley. So in this reality, things had escalated. Fabian was trying to teach her a lesson. And so he gave her to him. And Eric and Claudia come home. That scene is so crazy. Probably a dumb question. No, it's not a dumb question. In all the realities, do Haley and Eric have the triplets first? Yes. Yes, they do. The order of their children do not change in any of the realities. It's not a dumb question. It's just how I decided to do it. But yes, the reality where Eric and Claudia, like he's dropping her off at home and he smells his mate in their house. Nobody wants to be Pierce Harden at that moment, man, especially when he finds out why she's there. Does not go well for the Hardens, guys. And then we did hear about this one. Haley briefly mentioned a ribbon strand where she had to, she had turned 16 and she escapes Foray. I didn't really give how that happens or why that happens, but she escapes at 16 and she's running from Fabian, but she's also running from Marcus and Bjorn because they're chasing her because it's her 16th birthday and they're trying to get her to take her home. She doesn't know that, so she's just running from everybody. And our Haley mentions in one book that she had to stop everybody from running and explain what was happening and why she was running because Marcus and Bjorn were like, "What the fuck?" I also have a ribbon strand that I actually really like this idea, where Fenelton doesn't die, but Alania sees a path where she has a daughter, and so she and Fenelton, fairies aren't monogamous, but she tells Fenelton she wants a daughter, and she saw where she needed to be to have a daughter, and so he tells her, do you? And so she goes off and meets Titus, and they have Haley, but Fenelton doesn't die, so he raises Haley, and she has no idea that she's not a full fairy and that she's not Fenelton's daughter. I actually really like that reality. It's kind of fun. It's a little hard for me because I do love her Hakira family so much, and it's a little hard for her at first because when they show up when she's 16, she has no clue, and so she kind of gets thrown through a loop in that one. But I don't know. You guys can tell me what you think. If you're like, that's dumb, don't like it. But I love that idea where we have a reality where, because in that reality, Fabian dies because Fenelton realizes that he's trying to kill him. So Fenelton kills him instead. So that one's kind of fun because she gets the childhood that everybody wants her to have. She's just in Foray, and her brothers accept her because their father does. And Fenelton loves her as if she's his own child. So literally, no one in Foray knows that she's not his kid. So no one treats her any differently. And then I have another one. Oh, gosh. I love this one too, guys. It's where Phelan, after she has Bexley, she tells him in their note that her biggest regret is that she didn't just leave and come right back to him. Well, we have a reality where she does do that. She does go right back to him. And so she's still around. I see all you guys commenting that you like. But so Phelan's still around. So she sees the abuse Haley is taking in this other strand. And instead of just saying, I'm leaving with this little girl, Phelan fakes Haley's death in Foray. And she takes her to Arthur to protect. So everyone thinks Haley is dead. Her family, her Hakira family, knows that's not true because they can still feel her in their connection. So they're trying to figure out exactly where she is. But Phelan has placed some magic on her to make her hard to find in case anyone doesn't believe that she's dead. And Arthur ends up in Tennessee because, he's got and Haley ends up, well, it's a vampire taking care of a mischievous fairy who doesn't need to hang out during the day while he's down. So, because in that reality, Phelan's mate is still alive. So she does not know that Arthur is her second chance mate yet. She finds out. But it's really funny because that little kid Haley just like pops up all over the place. So yeah, I really like that one too. Come on, cell phone. My phone froze. So I saw a couple questions come in as I was explaining that one. Okay. Come on, phone. Unfreeze. There we go. Okay. Andrea thinks it sounds cool. So does Christina. Will we see some Fire Fairy / Wolf matches other than Oscar? Fire Fairies seem great, even Arian in. So Fire Fairies are more like water fairies, but they're even more, they're just very different from all the other fairies. And it's not the fairy group that you expect it. And that's kind of why I thought it from, because you would think, like Earth, more in tune with the Earth, would be more in tune with their feelings, but it's the Fire Fairies. That's part of why Alania was so devastated about Fenelton dying, because she had never known a love like his. No one had ever loved her the way that he loved her. So she was very distraught about him dying. And that's part of why Fabian killed him, is because he was jealous. And that's part of why he helped kill Phelan, because he was jealous that Alania loved him more and he wanted to tie himself to her because she is the most powerful of the siblings. But by tying himself to her, he made himself powerful as well. He also guaranteed that she would try to keep him alive as much as she could, because fairies are selfish. But will more Fire Fairies be? We might see more partial Fire Fairies with wolves. We might even see a Fire Fairy with one of Haley's children. Does Fabian have a mate? Yes, he does. Massium and Hextus's mother is his mate. We don't see her much for a reason. She's kind of depressed, guys, and he's also he killed her after Massium's birth. So, but people don't know that; they just know that she died. But he killed her, so she's not alive in this reality either, because Massium is older than Haley. Two people asked if Fabian has a mate. Yes, he does. She's just dead. And he's not getting a second chance mate. Let's be real. He's horrible. Can the kids pop to Haley in another reality? So it's an interesting question, because we just found out 2 of Haley's children will be in the ribbon as well. Those 2 children, when they go into an alternate reality, yes, they can pop to Haley. If you mean, can our original Haley go into a reality and the kids pop to her? No, they cannot. It will be interesting to see if the 2, once they go into the ribbon, if they can do that. We don't know the answer to that. We'll have to find out. And will we be seeing our Haley return to this reality? Yes. So somebody asked that earlier. I don't know that I can write a book without seeing our original realities, Haley and Eric, at some point in a book. I also believe that our Haley deserves to know how tall she was supposed to be. So, like I said, the next question is, are we going to see any other realities? And the answer is yes. Next question, how many? Not telling. But like I said, I went through the other realities I have, and I like I said, I have a couple I'm really excited about. The one where Phelan takes Haley to Arthur. I think that one's really funny. Mostly I think it's hilarious how she meets Eric. Whereas this reality's Haley started writing Eric at 5. This Haley meets Eric when she's 5. Because she's just popping around his territory, like, try to catch me. Because she knows who he is. She felt drawn to the area, and then she's very, so she knew that that was her mate. And so she's just like popping around like, catch me, and she's 5. So, and then the vampires are like, oh, where did she go? So it's pretty funny to me. And then, we have to bring the Hair in because they're like, what is going on? And then, like I said, I really like the reality where Fenelon defeats Fabian, and Alania wants a daughter, so she sleeps with Titus, and they raise her as their daughter, and they don't tell her that she's not. So I think that's really fascinating for that reality, and I really like Fenelon. I do. I think his character is a lot of fun, and he's very different from other fairies. He's more like Aiden than any other fairy we've seen. So and that's her being raised there does show a different side to her. And is there a reality where Cassandra isn't horrible? Okay. Here's the thing about Cassandra. Cassandra is not horrible when things go the way that she likes. So she's kind of a character where as long as things are going her way, she's nice, she's great, she is happy, and she's a nice character. That's why her sons were not, like in our reality, were totally blind to her, because when you are raised around a person like that, that's normal to you. So to them, like stuff like that is normal. It's when other people come in and are like, she's kind of awful. And you're like, well, no, she's not awful, because that's just how she is. Like, it's just what it is. And other people are like, she's kind of awful. But to you, it's normal. So, do we see a reality where she's cool for a while? We did see that in the first book. I think knowing what we know now, if you go back and read, you can kind of see even in the beginning where there were some cutting and biting comments that just, kind of slid off when you don't know her nature. Will there be other realities like that? Absolutely. Everybody has a breaking point to where they show their true colors. But is her character, her dynamic, and her core going to change in other realities? No. Kind of like all our other characters. Like, the core of who they are is not changing. Arian is not a bad person. He's just an easily manipulated person when he's not bonded with his siblings. And he had the bond with Aiden, but his problem was he and Haley didn't have anything to bond about in the first book. And then when he helped take her, it started to eat away at his soul, and it was driving him crazy. So that was his problem. He's not actually a bad person. Like Massium. Massium has the capability to not be a bad person as well, but he follows his brother and father's lead. We will eventually see him in this book, and we will see if he was out from under their influence fast enough. Because he was close with Aiden and Arian in the first book. So we'll have to see if he got out from under their influence fast enough in this book. But to me, who people are at their core, like Haley, she's had a different experience, but she's still that innocent, lighthearted, willing to help other people girl at her core. That was one thing, I'm not going to lie. I saw some comments about how what she went through made her who she is, and that is true. What you go through does make you who you are, but I believe that who you are at your core is who you are. I think it takes something pretty significant and large to change people. I think people can change, and I think things do happen to make them change. But in this universe with my characters, they are who they are. And Haley is always going to be sweet. Some of them we'll see are a little rough around the edges, and she's earned that. She's earned that in several realities to be that way. But she still let people in. Like, as much as she claimed like she was closed off and whatever, we saw her time and time again let people in. So to me, the fairies tried to beat who she was out of her, and they just were not successful. Like she does things that are her mechanisms to remember that she's free and that she's not going back to that and she can take care of herself. But she's still who she is. So Cassandra, being who Cassandra is we will see that. And like I said, we did see that in the first book a little bit for a while until Haley was kidnapped. So because Cassandra reacted to how Eric behaved after she was kidnapped, because that doesn't fit in her perfect little world. Her perfect son, who's done all these changes for the werewolf community for the greater good and has like brought in, they were stuck. They still are. They are still stuck in an antiquated way of thinking. But Eric has been slowly and systematically bringing them around with his pack and how they do. And she's very proud of that fact. She's very proud of her son. And that is very much like an ego booster for her. But yeah, we kind of see her character in that she truly believes that when the girls found out they couldn't have pups after that accident, she believes that she did the right thing leaving because she didn't want to make them feel bad, because she is aware that she does make those cutting comments, and she kind of wanted to get away and not do that because she does care about them. What she does not realize is how selfish that is, and that she had made herself integral to those 3 girls and then she just abandoned them. She doesn't see that because to someone like Cassandra, the world kind of revolves around her, and so her ideas are right and what she thinks is right. So it's hard to talk to somebody like that. But who she is who she is, and we will see some of it where things are going her way, and so she's fine. But there's always that straw that breaks the camel's back, and I can't wait to bring that saying out and have you hear Haley's reaction to it. But yeah, like this Haley knows reality saying, she just thinks they're dumb, so she doesn't say them correctly. That's going to be a theme throughout all of the Ribbon realities. Haley thinks the sayings here are dumb, and so she says her own, even though she knows what they are. But I've got 30 more minutes before my kiddo wants to be up. I am totally down to hang out and answer more questions if you guys have them. Is anyone else over this heat? I feel like I'm sweating all the time. It's 74 in my house. That is unacceptable. What about when she's raised here with Arthur? What about it? That's the Ribbon strand where Phelan's not dead and she fakes Haley's death in Foray, and she brings Haley to where? Why can't I see the comments in YouTube? What is happening? Pop out chat. Yeah, let's try that. Oh, okay. There are comments in here. I don't know why I couldn't see any of those, guys. Hold on. Go back to the top. Hello, Layla. So far in Raised Secure, it's tugging at all our heartstrings, but I remember when the brothers say if she turned 16, they would trust her judgment. Okay, yes, in our reality, if she had turned 16, they would trust her judgment. Yes, they would, and they do trust her judgment. That's not the problem. Their problem with wanting her to wait until she's 18 is they're scared that our original Haley's reality and what they learned about what happened to her there, because Aiden had the journals and Titus made him turn over Fabian's journals and his plan. So Aiden made them copies. They've seen everything that Haley went through, and they're scared for her because they know more people. They know these rings are out there. They know that they want her in it. And so they're scared. They want to keep her in their realm as long as they can. They do trust her judgment. It's just about being scared. Let's see. So no version of Cassandra really likes Haley at all. That is not true. Cassandra does like Haley. She just wants her to change little things about herself in our original reality. She does like her. But she just wants her to change. Like, she's beautiful and she has a lot of the characteristics that bring their pack forward, and Cassandra likes that. She does not like that she cusses so much, and she kind of does wish she wasn't a fairy, but the longer that Haley was around, she kind of got over that. It's really not about that. And this Cassandra will like this Haley because she doesn't cuss as much, and she's already saved their pack members, and she just wants to be right. She wants people to think she's right, and she wants to be right. She does like this. She does like Haley, though. Keeping my fingers crossed that Haley gets to keep all her brothers and that Arian doesn't mess up this time. As we learned in the last chapter, Arian and Haley bonded over that secret that she shared with him about knowing that Eric was her mate and knowing that they were the promised siblings. And he helped her. That bonded them. And we learned in that last chapter that was important. Them bonding was very important for Arian's life expectancy. So the problem is when he didn't bond with Light, which is Haley. So they have bonded in this book. How many outlines do I currently have for other books? Oh my gosh, I have like 19, guys. That's probably more at this point. It's an ongoing, like, running list. I think the latest book is my favorite, and then you start a new one, it's even better. Thank you, Elizabeth. That's very nice of you. Is Bexley going to be born and raised Kira? Bexley is born. She's been training Haley. She was in the chapter where Haley's 5th birthday party was, and Haley tells her she's been practicing her sky powers. Bexley is here. Elizabeth said, I'm a genius. Well, you're so kind. Thank you. Will we ever see all of Fairy Houses fighting together? Haley, Aiden, Arian, and Emmeline. Yes. Yes, we will. Can you say the 5 fairy names that almost killed? Okay, hold on. Let me pull up their names real quick. I gotta get to that part of the chapter and I will read them to you. There's one, the one that Aiden kills is Fifi. Fefi is his name. Idefter, Fefi, Nadasser, Ophulus, and Yosefi. Those are their names. Okay, I caught up in that chat. Sorry about that, guys. Normally it shows like on the side of my screen. Don't know when we made that change. I don't like it. How do I come up with these fairy names? Sometimes I sit there and I'm like, what's an off-the-wall name? And I start typing and I erase it several times until I find one I like. Sometimes I Google fairy names and then change the lettering around to match what I want it to be. Mostly just sit here and make up names. Okay, make sure I'm caught up in the live group. Okay, the question about the one where she's raised with Sir Arthur, she'll be subjected to this realm's sayings. Well, she's only with Arthur for a period of time because, like I said, she shows up in Eric's territory while he's down for the day and starts popping around. And then she runs across Eric, who's 18 and who's like, that's my mate that's popping around. And so they're chasing her and they're trying to find her. Eventually she does let him catch her. And they talk, and he leaves a message for Sir Arthur, and Sir Arthur comes to talk to him and tells him that he's been trying to reach the Hakura, but he hasn't been able to. So Eric reaches out. So they show up. That does not mean that Sir Arthur will not be involved in her life, because while Phelan didn't know who her dad was, when she tells Sir Arthur, like, she thinks her dad's coming for her when she's 16. That's what my sister keeps saying. He knows exactly what that means. So he's trying to hunt them down to find her and figure out who's her father. So he's trying to give them Haley to raise, but he's raising her while he's doing that. So I don't know if this has been asked, but could we see an outtake with Dylan's point of view on the quad shift like we did with the trips that has not been requested? I anticipate that will be requested at some point. We have a lot of requests to get through. Let's see. So the current list of requests, what's coming up tomorrow, and was really hard to get my mind into the space to write, was Noah's point of view fighting with Haley. I don't like being in his brain space at all. Next, we'll see Arian's point of view when he came for Haley and the triplets. So we're going to kind of see that he's losing it. That'll be a sad point of view to get into too, but then don't worry, we're going to bounce back and have some Dylan. We'll have Dylan's point of view on Lucas and Emmeline meeting in the classroom. So I'm actually really excited about that fan request. I'm excited about all the fan requests. I think they've been really great. We then have Raphael's point of view on Eric and Haley's wedding. So as the man who marries them. So we're going to have his point of view. We're going to get Nathan Connor's point of view on New Year's Eve. We're going to get a Cassandra's point of view after Eric kicks her out to Montana. And then we're going to have, in the end of the first book, it's talked about how Eric's going to take Haley dancing. So we're going to have their first, when he takes her on their very first date. And then we're going to have an Aiden point of view when he finds out that Arian went for the triplets and Haley. We also have Darren being challenged for Shanna. We mentioned that in the first book that it happened. So that's coming. And then we have a Dylan point of view when everybody finds out Emma and Finn are mates, which for anybody who doesn't, Finn is Dylan's son and Emma is Chase's daughter. Then we have King Arthur announcing Brianna's birth to the vampires and everybody, the entire community at large. And then we have a very intriguing request for Titus and Alania meeting. So those are the fan requests that are coming. And then it's going to be the end of the month and more are going to be on my list. So I do appreciate all those with fan requests being patient, waiting for their scenes to be posted. I'm working through these as fast as I can. I've had a couple people ask me where they're at on the list. Totally fine with that. I will tell you when I think it's going to be posted. I will tell you if that changes. If you ask, I try to message everybody and let them know that their scene is up. Sometimes when I post during the work week, work goes crazy. We have 2 people out of the office for like a month, and somehow I'm supposed to be both of them and myself. My manager and I argue about this, not infrequently, but yeah, those are the upcoming fan requests. Will we see Lucas and Emmeline's son that is the strongest water fairy? Of course we will. He's going to be in the triplets book. We're going to see their kids. So he's in their son that is the strongest water fairy is in Emmeline's. She's pregnant with him in their epilogue. So we will see him. He is, let me look at my list. Okay, so we have the triplets and then we saw Max and Lexi. So he is the same age as Haley's next set of twins. Their names are Preston and William. They're the group triplets. It's Wesley, Preston, and William. So Emmeline's son that is the strongest water fairy is their age. Then you want me to just list you guys out what their kids' names are? I have them all sitting right here. No? Okay, you'll find out as the book goes on, guys. But yes, we will see them. Isn't that one of Dylan's kids? Christina, I don't know what that. Can you break that question down for me? I don't understand the question. OMG, isn't that one of Dylan's kids? 8? Do you mean mate? Which one? What are we talking about? I'm gonna comment with more details. So far, of who we know of Dylan's kids' mates, his daughter Buttercup is mated with Wesley, who was in Emmeline's epilogue, and we found that out there. Dylan's daughter and Eric's son, next set of triplets. Dylan only has one daughter that we know about. Dylan has one daughter named Buttercup, mated to Wesley, which is one of the twins that we met in Emmeline and Lucas's epilogue. So Wesley and Max are twins, and we met them in Emmeline's epilogue, and Wesley is who is mated to Dylan's only daughter that we know of at this time. And then Finn, his oldest son, is mates with Emma, Chase, and Lexi's daughter. Preston, William, and Julian, we know they exist because I believe they were in Lexi's epilogue, but we have not. We don't know if they know their mates. But I think I've said this before. Eric and Haley have 20 kids at the point that I have come to with this reality. I'm not going to say they're done. I'm going to say they have 20 right now. They live for a really long time. And Haley likes having a big family. I will say out of those 20 kids, they have 2 girls. So it's a lot of boys, guys. A lot of boys. So many names, too. So many names. But yeah, we've got this book, which a lot of things. It's getting to the, we're going to kickstart it because, like I said, Eric and Haley are going to meet in the next chapter, and then we have EJ's book. We see him with Elise a lot, but like I said, there's a lot of setup to Alexander's book in EJ's book because I didn't want to do a book. Am I sure about what? Are you sure I'm going to reread it? I could have sworn Dylan's kids was Eric. No, Eric and Dylan do have kids that are mated. It's Wesley and Buttercup. Wesley is Eric's child, and Buttercup is Dylan's daughter. They're mated. Wesley and Buttercup are Eric and Dylan's children. Will Haley and Eric's kids be trained by Bjorn? Yes, they will. They'll be trained by Eric and Bjorn and a group of the brothers. They can go back and forth between the realities as they want. So yeah, they are going to be trained by their grandfather, by their uncles. Yes. Christina, let me know if that helped you. But Eric and Dylan's children are related. It's just not in the second set of triplets. It's in the twins. Lucas and Emmeline have how many kids? I believe I've said they had 8. I believe I have a list of 8. They have 6 or 8. But it's 8. Will Haley ever figure out the original Xader's curse? That is information that she needs and part of why she's brought to this reality. This Haley accepted her fairy side. No. If I said it was one of Lucas's kids, Christina, I misspoke. We don't know if any of their kids can't be mates because they're cousins. But yes, if I said Lucas, then I misspoke. It's Dylan. But Haley is going to come back to this reality, and there's lots of things that she needs to know. This Haley in this reality never hated her fairy side like our original Haley did. She accepted who she was, and she talks to Aiden a lot, and Aiden knows a lot about other supernaturals that she doesn't know. So he's the one who told her that it sounded like he was spelled. And our Haley, she spent a lot of time with Xander, but she didn't, there was nothing to heal with him. She needs Emmeline by her side to kind of figure it out. Because together she could heal his mind that's spelled, and Emmeline can heal his soul. So, but they need to be together to kind of put it all together. When will Cassie get a mate? Oh gosh, guys, that's in her book. She's a teenager though. So that is in her book. I'm not giving that away. We have met her mate. We know EJ's mate. We know a lot of mates right now. A lot of mates. But yeah, there were several names given at the end of Lexi's book of kids. So, and there was a massive, massive hint about things that we should question about something that I can't say because it will give away what the hint was. But if you read that blog, there is a hint there and something that was odd. Did you say we have met Cassie's mate? We have heard his name. So in my mind, we have met him because his character has been spoken about. So if that's what you think that means too, then yes, if you think met means we've had him, we've heard his name. Now time to reread. Oh yeah. Yeah, he's been mentioned a few times. But yes, to me, we have met him because I've introduced the character's name. So. That's awesome. Totally rereading. Guys, there's a lot of rereading to do because I didn't tell you which book I mentioned his name in. But he has been sprinkled in a few times. You know, I love my little nuggets. So, yeah, lots of little nuggets in. Want to give a hint on which book? I actually think it's in all three. I actually think his name has been mentioned in all three. I know it was mentioned in Emmeline's. Yeah, I know it's mentioned in Emmeline's, but I also know there are a lot of little nuggets in Lexi's epilogue too. So I think I addressed this, but I'm going to address it one more time. I have seen people wondering, like, why certain things are still happening in this reality, like Torvi being kidnapped and Alpha Max being spelled. We're kind of seeing in this book that the ring is bigger than anybody ever knew. Like, nobody knew that Alpha Max had gone crazy because of a spell. He was looking into something, and I think we all know what that something is. And why Claudia is not involved in the ring. Okay. She never was. She just, I saw somebody ask why she was so obsessed with Eric. That's actually in the first book. Pierce Harden tells us why. And it's because she is used to everyone falling at her feet. And Eric is the top dog. He's who every alpha's daughter wants to be their mate. Because he's powerful. He is the most powerful alpha around, and he has progressive ideas, and he changes things. And people want to be his mate. She wants to be his mate, but that she's not is fine with her. She just wanted him to want her, and he didn't. The first time that they met, Pierce tells him he didn't even remember meeting her. She approached him at a club, and he flicked her off. He thought she was annoying, as we saw he did in this book. He knew her. He didn't like her, and it wasn't because of the note. They weren't for sure who she was. He suspected she was Claudzilla, but our Haley just went with the name that she calls her instead of telling them, hey, it's Claudia Harden. She was like, Claudzilla's the worst. So he suspected it was her, but in this book, in this reality, his reactions to her are how all Erics truly feel about Claudia. And in the first book, he even, like Pierce said, he didn't remember meeting her. She approached him at a club and he rejected her and like kind of flicked her off, like go away. And she became obsessed with, I don't know if you guys heard that, but my husband is doing something with his speakers and it's very loud. But she became obsessed with getting him to like her any way that she could. Do we ever meet Darren and Harold's mates from the Ribbon in the real reality? What do you mean, are Shannon and Jessica around in the books? I got a lot of characters, guys, going on, and we'll probably see them at some point. At least one of them I know we'll see. She has a very different life, though. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I think everything is still happening because it didn't start with Haley. That's true. And that's kind of what we're trying to see here is the ring did not start with Haley. We've mentioned this family that the Hallorans took over from. It started there. This has been going on for centuries because supernaturals live that long. So this has been going on for a long time. It did not start and end with Haley. That's just where we came into the story. Haley was a big part of it for the fairies. She was a huge part of it because a lot of the experiments that Fabian was doing on partials, they weren't strong enough to handle. Haley was the first most powerful partial fairy that he knew of that he could get his hands on. Even Marabella couldn't take the things that Haley could. So for them, she was very progressive and she moved their ring along because they could do a lot to her and she was still around and they didn't know why. Fabian thought it was because she had Alania's blood and that was royalty. But really it's because she can heal herself. So her light was keeping her alive. And so was her power. And to an extent, the fairy goddess was keeping her alive because she is a part of this prophecy and the prophecy can't go on if she dies. It can go on if Arian dies, but if Aiden or Haley die, the prophecy is not true. So that can't happen amongst the gods. They can't die until this prophecy is moved forward. So that's part of, Haley was a big part of the fairies ring because a lot of their experiments and everything, they got to see a lot of things and how a lot of things do because she could take it. Where other partial fairies just died because they couldn't handle the experiments he was doing on them. Since she wasn't a part of the ring, that doesn't change the decisions that were made about everything else. Right. So, and our Haley in the original reality, we saw like she missed Axel at first. She forgot about him. There are people she does not know about that were involved. Like, so those people are still there. They're in the shadows. They're making moves. They're part of the movement that want her back in Foray because they know Fabian's plans. They know his journals. They want her back because they want to go through that. They want to keep going with their ring. I need these books in hardback, guys. I am, let's see, I think I am officially, so close. I am 2 chapters away from halfway being done with Haley's edits. I'm on Berry Charms. So we're working through those. It's going a little faster now because those first few chapters they were rough because I just started writing and was kind of finding my rhythm. So those first few chapters, I made a lot of tweaks to, a lot of little extra tidbits, and now it's getting into tenses and stuff like that. So it's going a little faster now. But I do have, I've got a lot going on, guys. On my off days, what I do is I write an outtake. I edit. I try to start the chapter for the next day, but sometimes I'm just like exhausted because I'm sure you've noticed by now, I do not like editing. It's not my bread and butter. I am not an editing person. I have help. I go through and catch stuff, and then I have somebody who graciously helps me and goes through and catches like things that I missed. I'm not the comma or punctuation queen, but yes, I would love to get these in hardback for you guys. I will say that if that happens, this group will be the first to know. I'll probably go live and tell you guys, and then put it in Facebook later. But I will keep you guys aware of what's going on. Not finished with first round edits of the first book yet. Looking into publishing agents and things like that. So trying to do all the research so that once it is edited, I can just submit it and see where that goes. If that doesn't go anywhere, I do have other plans. I know plenty of people have asked about, like, just put it on Amazon or Kindle. That is something that I'm thinking of. So we'll see where everything goes. Still loving the series. Part of the problem is I don't want to stop writing to focus on the editing. So I've still got other books going on while I'm doing this, and it would go faster if I solely focused on edits, but I think that would take the fun out of it for me. The 2 days a week that I do it now are good enough for me. So that's not the fun part to me. The fun part to me is interacting with you guys and writing these stories and being with these characters. So that's where that's at. Monica, I love your optimism. You need to be my optimist for me. I'm like, the glass is half empty and kind of like I'm the worst case scenario, Amanda. That's my brain thinks of like all the possible potential things that could possibly happen. So that's where my brain goes. But I appreciate all you guys and the belief that you have in these books. I love these books, and I hope that when I do get it polished and ready, that somebody sees our little community and sees what we see in these books. So, but I will absolutely keep you up to date on any and all of those things. Is the White Wolf going to be with Dylan's family, or is she going to come from somewhere else? I'm not going to answer that. Technically, we don't know if the White Wolf is real. So the question is there a White Wolf? Does that mean she's coming to the Frost family? Monica believes that the White Wolf is Alexander's mate and is probably from California or Memphis. Danielle, you did try. Monica, we'll just see if this legend comes true, where she ends up playing into all of this. There are, Alexander's mate. There are a lot of things going on with Alexander's mate, you guys. I've given lots of little hints about her and like what's going on in her life. She has a lot of reason to be angry, and she is angry. We learn about something in this book that comes into play in Alexander's book that our current reality doesn't know about, and they're not going to find out about when they visit this reality, because this reality will not know about it yet. Allison, love you too. How mad will Alexander be with Celine about his mate? I mean, how mad will he be? His mate is mad at Celine, infuriated with Celine. And as we've seen, alphas are very possessive about their mates, and she feels so strongly, and he can't help but be mad too. And he's got two other choices, man. Like he is part fairy, part Hakura, and part wolf. He's got two other, a god and a goddess that he can turn to. So I mean, it's not like he's a wolf who's got sole belief in Selene guiding his life. So I mean, he has choices. And Azir warned Selene that Alexander would be mad. He tried to help her because that gives a huge hint about Alexander's mate, in my opinion, that he warned her instead of doing something about it himself, or warning any other god or goddess. He warned Selene. So there's a lot of hints in that scene. I'll say that. There's a lot of hints in his scene. I believe the White Wolf is Drake and Sam's daughter. We do not know if the White Wolf is real, but we do know that Drake and Sam have a daughter. We learned that in the last chapter, other book, guys. We learned that at the end of Lexi's book. They do have a daughter, so that is true. They have a daughter. But we don't know if the White Wolf is real. We don't know if Dylan's parents are just crazy people. They are crazy people. Let's just throw that out there. They are crazy people, but are they just crazy people? Is Alexander's mate a victim of the ring? We will see. We will see how that all comes into play. She's an interesting character to me because she can be classified as many things. She has a bit of a masochistic complex because of things that happen. She blames herself for things that she shouldn't, but she doesn't know that. So she kind of lets herself be put in a situation where she thinks she deserves what's happening to her. But to me, she's so many things. But one, and first and foremost, she is a survivor. She's also a protector. So she sees it kind of as her duty to protect people. So she works really hard, and she does do that. The only person she's really not protecting is herself, which is kind of sad. Not kind of sad, it is sad. But we see her journey and what's going on. And part of the reason in EJ's book we see so much setup for Alexander's book is because we're gonna jump to where I want their story to be, but there are things about Alexander's mate that we need to know, and I don't want to backtrack and go through the only way to do it was to put it in EJ's book, because Alexander's book is already crazy enough. We did not need to backtrack and find out all what's going on in EJ's book on her life. So it's just going to happen together. So is Alexander's mate a full wolf, or is she a partial wear and something else? Like I said, we don't know that, but we know that Azir did not warn a single other god or goddess. He warned Selene. And Selene only. So that is a hint to me about what she is. Because I haven't said what she is. I've just said she suffers. I've said lots of things about her, let's be honest. But to me, it's a massive hint that Azir only warns Selene. Christina, I am hoping for a TV series coming out of this. I will do everything in my power to be a part of the casting department. I would love that. I would love to see these characters brought to life on the screen. As I've said, I've shared who they are in my head. I've seen who you guys share. I think it's great. I think it would be fun to see that. I would love to see these in hardback. I would die if they were on screen. And I feel like our whole group would. I feel like we would collectively freak out and talk about it. I think it would be fun. It would have to be, see, that's the hard thing. It would have to be the right thing because, like these are not a little, they are smutty. And so I wouldn't want them to take it out. So I've actually thought about that because I've seen your guys' comments. I'm like, would it be Netflix? Would it be HBO? I don't know, guys. We would just have to see where that go. Sounds like Haley. What sounds like Haley? I say so many things, guys. But do we have any other? Are you guys going to try to pull any other information out of me? I try to be like a fairy in my evasion spell, giving you guys a little bit of teasers and information. Let's see. And if I say your name wrong, I'm sorry, but I think how you pronounce your name is Faithlin. I love that name, by the way. I might steal it. You might see it in a book. I believe that Alexander's mate is the White Wolf because Azir told her that she was Celine's special child, so Celine should do something about it. I mean, that is an interpretation of all the things he said. So, did Logan have another mate? I remember in the first book, it's saying the brothers had mates. In the editing, that has been fixed. Logan was always Katie's mate. It was just, I misspoke. All the brothers except Logan had their mate. That has been fixed in editing, though, because Katie and Logan were always meant to be mates in my mind. So, Monica. So, mothers discipline their children because we love them, and why can't the goddesses get it in gear and do something? They should. They should, and Azir told them that they should. Because as he points out, the Hakura don't have rings. And before anyone could say anything about like Case and Philip, he was like, my children can take care of things like that. And they do. They're not afraid to. Just like Celine's children. Actually, all of their children would handle stuff like that. They just don't know. To the goddesses, they all love their children so much they just hope that they'll turn it around. Almost to the point of insanity. They're like, no, they can still turn it around. They can't stand for one of their children to be, and it's not even a small group of their children. Like, this is a large group of their children, and it hurts them to think about their children dying. But they're so proud of their children that are good. So it's their mindset is complicated. They're not like regular moms. They're deities. So they have a bit more of a thing that they just want people to turn things around. Christina. Okay, so Christina, I've seen a few comments. I think what you're trying to say is that Alexander's mate sounds kind of like Haley. Haley and Alexander's mate do have some things in common. Quite a few things. They get along quite well. And Haley can understand his mate in a way that not many can. So. But yes, the goddesses are just different. They interfere sometimes where they can. They're also very busy. They've got a lot of children. They've got a lot going on. But as Azir pointed out, they need to step in and police at this point. But I think it's very clear they're not going to. So that's what's up with that. I love these. I love this chat and these theories that are going around. In Race to Cura, what happened to David Forrester? In the prologue, Haley tells Marcus to kill him after Emmeline is born, and he does. David is dead. So that's what's up with David. He's dead. Ow. Hitting myself on my own desk. But yeah, Haley told them to kill a lot of people. She told them to kill Hansen. She told them to kill a list of fairies. She told them to kill David. All those people are dead. Except for a few that escaped that we will see later.
But David is not one of those people. Neither is Hansen, and neither is Fabian or Hexus. They are all very dead. Does that mean Megan and Mercutius are together? So that's an interesting thing. No. They are kind of mates. He's with his lover in Foray that he's raising Emmeline with. He allows Dustin, Katie, and Ryan all to his house to see Emmeline. He doesn't want to keep them apart. The siblings are all still very close. He is not quite so enamored with Megan as he was in the first book, because he knows that if a jumper came into the reality and had to tell him that he needed to raise his daughter, that something very bad happened. So he's kind of just treating her how fairies treat their mates. He's like, I see you when I see you. She's doing her own thing too. So they are what they are. Maybe the god and goddesses should drop a hint to the good kids about fixing the bad ones. They should. They should. But yes, okay. I will say that we should remember a lot of alphas mentioned in Emmeline and Lexi's book. There is a red herring in that group, and to me, the book we're currently in tells you who the red herring is, of who you could think is a bad person. But in this book, you should know that he's not. But there are a lot of people that we need to keep an eye on and watch out for those people for the kids' upcoming books. That probably didn't help anybody. Did that help anybody? I feel like I say things and people are like, that just made me think harder. And I'm like, oh man, I was trying to give us like, yeah. Kind of like I see sometimes you guys are like, oh, the cliffhanger. And I'm like, what? I didn't think that was a cliffhanger. Yeah, like I think the last one where Haley and Eric's conversation ended where it did in her chapter, and people were like, oh, the cliffhanger. And I was like, no, the cliffhanger was when I ended it when he picked up the phone and said hello and she laughed, because that was where originally that chapter ended. And then I was like, oh, that's mean. We shouldn't do that. Sometimes I know, though. Sometimes I end a chapter and I'm like, whew, I'm going to go hide from the comments. Run away. But yeah, a lot of times I see you guys talking about a cliffhanger and I'm like, oh man, I didn't think that was one. So my ideas and other people's like interpretations of like what I do or say, I'm like, oh, we see things completely differently. So, which is cool. That's absolutely fine. It just cracks me up sometimes. Louisiana and Memphis. Pay attention to those alphas. I don't know that we've mentioned anybody from Memphis. We've mentioned Missouri, Louisiana, Nashville, California, and Kentucky. My husband is shaking the house. I'm sorry if you hear that. The one whose Gamma was killed is definitely in the ring. We shall find out. And for anyone who's wondering what Monica is talking about, she means Gamma McCann. Are Ted and Matt still together in the ribbon? We will find out because, as I said, Eric and Haley are going to meet in the next chapter. And Haley is typically with 3 other people. So, autocorrect, I meant Missouri. Allison, I figured that you meant Missouri. But yes, we need to watch out for Missouri. People think I don't like Missouri. I do. I'm actually from Missouri. I just now live elsewhere. But I do love Missouri. I'm from there. But yes, we will see if we will see changes in other mates and who stays the same and who doesn't. To me, Darren and Harold and their mates were not established in the first book as like people we saw a lot or really came to like love their relationship or the characters. So that's why they changed to me. So. Do we find out what's going on in Missouri? I mean, that's been set up for quite some time now. So, stuff's going on in Missouri. And our lovely group of characters have too much going on to really pay that much attention to it because it's not where they're from and they don't care. That morphs into something that maybe we should have paid attention to. But yeah, in this book, we also saw that Alexa and Ben and Emmeline with an E, her daughter, were saved. So they're running around too. So we'll see the difference that makes. Beta Bond, will he come in? Beta Bond was a fun character that I made up for Dylan to talk about. I do like his character, and I do like how Dylan interacts with his character, so he will probably show up again. I live in Columbia. Hey! My best friend went to Mizzou. Graduated from there. I actually coached volleyball, and a couple girls drove in from Columbia to our club group to play. I like Como. I'm not from there, but I do like it. I actually went to school in Springfield. Go Bears. Springfield, Missouri. I know there are other Springfields. That's why I added the Missouri part. But, okay, I've got 3 minutes. So if you've got questions, ask them real quick before I got to go get my child up from his nap. And ask my husband why he is shaking the house with whatever movie he's watching. It sounds like something is eating something. My husband likes scary movies. I do not. But yes, this is your 3-minute warning to get your questions in, and I will do my best to answer them. This was fun. This is fun. I love doing this with you guys. I like doing the question and A's with you guys. Question and A's, Q and A's. Wow. I like doing the Q and A's with you guys. I really like going live with you guys. I think it's a lot of fun. You guys can kind of see my facial expressions and how I kind of work through some things. And on Facebook, I still love doing that. I still love talking to you guys there. It's just I have more time to kind of craft my answers wordly. So I think it's fun to come on here. See, I think you guys get a little more out of me this way. Where on Facebook, I could have been a little bit more invasive. I'm kind of excitable like a fairy. I'm like, oh, I want to tell you, but I also want to be evasive, but I want to tell you, but I want you to be as excited as I am about this. So I like going live with you guys. I think it's a lot of fun. Thank you for sharing your amazing world with us. I'm so glad that you guys like this world as much as I do. It's a lot of fun to talk about. It's a lot of fun to write about. I love that you guys have embraced these characters and love them as much as I do. Love that everybody loves Dylan. He's so fun to write. But yeah, I love that you guys love these characters as much as I do. So, Allison, thank you. You're great too. Love you guys. I got 1 minute. Does anybody have any final questions that I can speed talk through? I can talk really fast, guys. I'm sure you've noticed that by now. But, well, I am excited to see what your brains come up with for your next fan requests. We're almost to July. I'm really not sure how that happened. I feel like June flew by. I can't wait to see what you guys come up with next month for fan requests. Thank you guys for joining the live. Thank you for being on Patreon. I really appreciate it. It's been really fun with you guys on here. I've loved writing the outtakes, love going live with you. Really, really love this group so much. Thank you guys, and we will chat probably next week. So look for me on Sundays, guys. Yeah, I've got a couple polls that I need to post. But yeah, thank you guys, and have a great Sunday. for those of you that are celebrating Father's Day. I know the UK has a different Mother's Day. I don't know if they have a different Father's Day. But if you are celebrating Father's Day, happy Father's Day, and enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Bye, guys.